So one thing that I think you guys are trying to figure out is what's the difference between a testable and non-testable question, one that can be solved using inquiry and one not. So basically your mega example that we're going to be referring to is how does increasing the angle of the swing, of the first swing, affect the child's height on the way back. So it's going to be going back, and then the back swing is on the way back, and then as far as he gets at the end before he starts going forward. But basically, this is a testable question. A testable question is a question that can be answered using scientific inquiry. Another way of thinking about that is using investigation. Here are the ingredients for a testable question. They always have two main ingredients. The first ingredient is the independent variable. Okay, we talked about the independent and the dependent variables in lesson 1.3. Here is where they come into play. We have the independent variable. That is the variable that's being changed. We must always have a variable that's being changed. And so taking a look back at our mega example, remember the swinging kid example. How does increasing the height or the angle of the first swing affect the child's height in the back swing? So the thing that's being changed is the increasing angle of pulling the child back. And so we start off with nothing, and then we continue to increase the angle as we test to see how the angle or how the height of the backswing changes. So these would all be different trials. These are the changes in height. The second ingredient that we need is the dependent variable. So we're going to write that down right now in our notes. The dependent variable. Okay, and that is the variable that we are measuring in response to that change. And so we need two things: the one that is being changed and the thing that we are measuring, what we're looking at, using either tools or our senses to do that. And so, for example, in our mega example again, we changed the increasing of the height. That was our independent. So I'm going to write an I above it. The child's height on the backswing is what we are measuring. So that is in response to the change. Because I increased the height from, just the bottom where the gravity just pulls them down to farther back, that's going to change the height of the backswing. And so we're observing that change. That is our dependent variable. Okay, and so we use a tool, we use a ruler to measure height for that. And that is our dependent variable. Does changing the amount of sunlight affect the growth of a plant's height? Do I have a variable that's being changed? Okay, take a look at the question. Do I have a variable that's being measured? Okay, well, try to answer it, and then we're going to look at it now. Okay, this is a testable question because it contains both the independent variable, which is the amount of sunlight, so like the hours that I would put it outside, and it also has an observation that I'm looking at, the plant's height. I want to see how it grows throughout that time. So I have both parts, the independent and the dependent, so I'm going to label them I and D. Let's take a look at example 2. Does changing the temperature of water affect the speed a sugar cube dissolves? Okay, do I have a variable that's being changed? Is there a variable that we're measuring? Okay, think if you can figure that out before I do. Okay, this is a testable question. We have something that is changing the temperature, and then we have something that is being measured, the speed of a sugar cube dissolving. We're going to talk about defining non-testable questions, and there are several red flags that we need to be looking at when we look at a question. First, questions that are matters of opinion, like using better, nicer, cooler, more fun and those things. Those are opinions. They're not testable. You can't measure opinions. So also one variable. Okay, so think about, and I always know that if there's only one variable, obviously I'm talking about independent and dependent variables. I'm missing either the independent or the dependent variable in that instance. And the final red flag that should tell you that it's non-testable is that if the variable that they're observing is non-measurable. So, for example, which tastes more sweet, chocolate chips or sprinkles? The term sweet is an observation based on the senses. You can't measure how sweet something is, therefore it's non-measurable. So, ergo, it is a non-testable question. And so those are the three red flags. Opinionated questions, one variable is being tested of either the independent or dependent, or the observation is non-measurable. So these are all examples of non-testable questions. So if you want to pause the video, take a look at some of these for some examples, it can help you. And never, ever, ever use the word